Welcome to The Fulcrum Point, the podcast that's looking at how Catholic education is making its mark in communities across Western Washington. This show is brought to you by the Fulcrum Foundation, and I'm your host, Brian Callahan. In this episode, we're talking about supporting students. With enrollment in Catholic schools here in Western Washington growing over the last 6 years, it's clear more and more families want to provide Catholic education for their kids. But we've seen a steadily rising cost of living in our region. So, how are these families able to afford this? In this episode, we're going to look at how financial support from the Fulcrum Foundation has provided critical help to students and their families. These are students who are not only able to access the quality Catholic education they're looking for, but, as you'll learn later in this episode, doing some inspiring things in their communities. We're recording this episode at Seattle Preparatory School on Capitol Hill in Seattle, and we're going to let some students from Seattle Prep set the scene for us here on the Fulcrum Point.
Hi, my name is Henry. I'm a junior at Seattle Prep, and my favorite part about going to a Catholic school is the theology classes because they're just as intellectually stimulating as any other class, and they challenge you to think in new ways about the world and about your faith.
With me now is Susan Okoma, Programs Director for the Fulcrum Foundation. Thanks a lot for being here, Susan.
It's nice to be here with you.
I want to talk about this because Fulcrum has been doing a lot of things since it launched in 2002. But helping families with tuition assistance is really a primary mission that's been there since the beginning. You're helping out thousands of students in our region at all 74 Catholic schools in the Archdiocese, as I understand it. Can you talk about the families Fulcrum is assisting, the people here? You're working with them every day. Who are they? What does it mean to you to be able to offer this kind of help?
Yeah, absolutely. This mission of Fulcrum is near and dear to me. I am a Catholic school graduate locally, high school, all of it, all the way through. And to be able to give back in this way is truly incredible. In my work every day, I talk to families. I don't necessarily talk to students, but I talk to parents.
Okay.
And they know what they want for their children. They know exactly the kind of education they want to give them. And it's a Catholic school education. And the one thing in the way of that is financial, right? They don't know how to make it work. So a lot of my conversations with them are encouraging them to be honest about what they need. Because we can't help you if we don't know.
Yeah, got to be able to ask, right.
That is a huge barrier for people. Asking for help is one of the hardest things that you can do as a human being. And so walking with them through that process and encouraging them is really important.
Yeah.
And they are so committed to making this happen for their child. And it's our job to partner with them to help make it happen.
Yeah,
So
they're making sacrifices too, right?
Unbelievable. You know, it's so expensive to live here now, especially, and incomes haven't always kept up with that. And there are people that call me that are working 2 and 3 jobs. They are sacrificing everything they possibly can to make it work. And if we can come in and give a little oomph to that and make it possible, it's an incredible impact.
Yeah, I think so too. And you're going down a path I want to keep going here, Susan, because I think there's a stereotype that exists that Catholic schools are not affordable. They're not accessible. Do you run into that when you talk to families about offering help? Do they think, oh, I could never afford that? How are you trying to tear down that stereotype? Because I think that's an important part of your work.
Well, as I said earlier, having that honest conversation with them, it's going to be overwhelming. You're going to see the financial commitment that's being asked, and you're going to doubt that it can happen for you and that you can make it work. But let's go through the whole process and see what it really breaks down to. Because maybe with the little help from the school and whatever you can provide and whatever Fulcrum can provide, maybe it's doable. But you don't know until you go down that road. And I think I see people give up before they even start. And how are you going to access it if you don't ask?
Yeah.
Right? And so I would just encourage people to not rule it out. It's possible. And we have thousands of families that thought it was impossible and have made it work.
I think you're helping people at a lot of different income levels here. I think it's important to point that out. Some families need more help than others, clearly. Can you talk about some of the trends that you're seeing in terms of need, in terms of people who are putting in requests for tuition assistance?
Yeah, I mean, the overall trend is quite simple, right? The income hasn't kept up with the expenses, and school is more expensive, groceries are more expensive, everything is. So the amount of need we're seeing overall is really high, higher than it's ever been. So the financial need is great. We're seeing families from across the spectrum, right? Very low income to now we're seeing more and more middle income families that are kind of trying to make it work. It's very difficult. And that's our job, right? As to try to figure out how to best support families across that spectrum.
Yeah, and this, full disclosure here, my family, I like to think, is relatively stable financially, but we received some tuition assistance to have both my girls in Catholic school, and that really meant a lot. And when one went off to college, I mean, these are some real decisions that families are going through. These are the kind of talks you're having.
Massive. It impacts everything about your life, right? It might mean you have to not take a vacation or not have cable TV or, and all of that is at play here. And it's all important, and so being on that journey with people is really profound.
In terms of the families that you're actually able to help, as I understand it, you're able to help about 70% of the people who apply. Is that about right? Or what are you looking at in terms of the numbers you're wrestling with all the time?
So we've grown over the years. So we historically have been much lower than that. Next year, we've awarded grants for next year already. Our elementary students, we're estimating, will be able to fund about 70% of them. That is incredible. And that is because of the generous donations and donors and supporters that we have across this state of Washington, really. We are growing, and we're always looking for new ways to support families and make sure that our programs are meeting the needs of the communities and maximizing their impact.
When you talk about meeting the needs of the communities, I think about all the aid that Fulcrum has distributed since its inception 23 years ago, about $80 million. That's very, very significant. Mm-hmm. How do you measure the impact of your work when it comes to tuition assistance? Where do you see that impact in the schools and the communities? Can you put that into words?
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people expect me to give you a number.
Okay.
Right? Like this many kids and this many dollars, and it's not about that at all, honestly. Our schools are based in community. That is, to me, the secret, the magic of Catholic education. We are allowing kids to be a part of an amazing community that's going to surround them and allow them to thrive. That's the kind of the secret sauce, right? And then these schools are forming these kids in values-based education. And they are leading them out into the world with a heart to serve and with a social justice-minded worldview. They're lifelong learners. They're going to be the leaders that we so desperately need in our world. And so those are the kinds of impacts that I hear about and I see. And then we're 20 plus years into this right now. So we are now seeing these kids come back to us as donors, as teachers in our schools, as volunteers, as parents of kids in our Catholic schools. And we're just now getting to that point where we can see that. That is truly special.
What does that mean to you to see that come full circle like that?
Every once in a while, I will be somewhere at some event and I will see someone that I have no idea who they are, but they know who I am, right? Because they've seen my picture on the website. And so many hugs, so many tears. And it's just a relationship that is so dear, right? And they know that they couldn't probably have made it work without the community, without the funding, without all of the little pieces that came together to make it work. And they are so grateful, and a lot of them, what I hear most often from people is, when I am able to, I will support you. And a lot of them do when they're able to. And that is just a testament to the work that we're doing.
Talk to me about trends towards the future here as we start to wrap up, Susan. It feels like the need that you're seeing isn't going anywhere. If anything, it's going to end up growing there. Talk to me about that and how you want to grow the program here at Fulcrum, the work you do, especially with tuition assistance.
Yeah, we're currently working to kind of analyze what our impact is currently and how we can, like I said earlier, meet the needs of the community and our schools and maximize that impact. And so really doing a deep dive into studying that and figuring out how we might want to make some changes, if we need to make changes. That's currently what we're working through. But at the same time, continuing to serve families in the same way that we have. That's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
No matter how we do it, we will still be supporting families at a really profound level.
If you had a message to go out to all the different families that are receiving aid right now, I know they have a lot of thanks for you. What's the message you're trying to get across to them?
I'm so proud of them for asking for help. That is probably one of the hardest things they've ever had to do. I'm really proud of them for doing it. And I want them to understand that it's worth it, when they can look at their child that's leaving school and going off to a university or college or even the workplace, doesn't matter, that they have pride in that and that it was all worth it, right? And so my work at Fulcrum is not just about giving them financial aid, help, or any of that. It's really about making sure their kids have access to this experience and that they can be proud of it and feel that it was worth it. And that's the tuition assistance, that's strengthening the schools, that's all of the mission of Fulcrum in this one family.
Susan Nakoma, Programs Director for the Fulcrum Foundation, thank you so much for talking to me.
Absolutely.
Up next, we're getting a school's perspective on how tuition assistance programs are helping their students and their community. You'll hear from the admissions director here at Seattle Prep, who has an interesting backstory of her own in Catholic education and how she arrived in this position. That's coming up on The Fulcrum Point.
I'm Eva. I'm a freshman at Seattle Prep, and my favorite part of going to a Catholic school is being able to practice my faith freely, and also the fact that all the teachers just intertwine our faith with all of our classes, not just our theology classes. And also that just throughout the campus, there's reminders of God's love, and it helps me to remember to practice my faith, not just when I'm being told to.
Great to hear from some Seattle Prep kids as we welcome you back to the Fulcrum Point, continuing to discuss supporting students. And I'm with Ann Alocalaro right now, admissions director for Seattle Prep. Thank you for hosting us on campus today, Ann.
Sure. Thank you for coming.
It's Ann's party. I'm just glad I got invited. Here we go. I wanted to talk to you about families getting financial help. Maybe some families don't know it's available. There may even be some who aren't comfortable in accepting help. You have an interesting family history on this with your journey through Catholic education. Can you share that with us, please?
Sure. So I have two sisters, and we grew up in a single-parent family. My mom did not go to Catholic school, but she found out about the Catholic school because of the church we went to, which was St. Matthew.
In Northeast Seattle, yeah.
And I'm the oldest. And first starting, my mom started to get concerned about my sisters coming up. She did not even know that financial aid was available.
Wow.
And someone told her about it. And so we got a little help there. By the time we all entered high school, my mom had 6 jobs to pay for it. So we did get some help, but not like the help they give now. And we're all really grateful. So my mom always said she could give us 2 things, her faith and an education. And Catholic school really made all the difference to help us.
And brought that together. And I have to think that personal experiences has shaped your work here at Seattle Prep.
Oh, for sure. All of us work in Catholic school now. And I think we would be in a really different place if we didn't go to Catholic school. I know we all felt really cared for. We felt safe. We knew that the people at the school wanted the best for us, were looking out for us, and were going to help us get there. So when you hear that Catholic schools are partners with parents, that is definitely what our family experienced, a partnership in raising us and helping us grow.
And that's your approach to this job now? Is that kind of how you're looking at it?
Yeah, I think it's such a gift, and I want everyone to be able to go to Catholic school who wants that. Catholic schools really can be that change, the change for some students.
I was talking earlier about stereotypes in Catholic education, and I wanted to talk about this because the Fulcrum Foundation works on this a lot, really trying to tear down this idea that Catholic education isn't affordable, it's not accessible. They do that through a lot of financial support. But I want to talk about this other stereotype too, because you touched on this earlier, this idea of, financial aid, that might not be for me, that's for somebody else. How many families are getting help at Seattle Prep? Because it's not just people who are low income. These are people all across the board here.
Yeah, I really encourage people to apply and not to count themselves out because they think they won't qualify for financial aid. We have a lot of middle-class families on financial aid as well. And at Seattle Prep, not only do we give financial aid in tuition form, but also depending on need, we help students with lunch, we help students with transportation, we help students with the Microsoft Surface. We're a one-to-one school, so that's the device they use. Mm-hmm. We help with retreats, activities. We really want students to be able to fully engage in all parts of what it is to be a student. And we're blessed to be able to do that. It's a value of ours. And we also have a community of current parents, past parents, alumni, all who want this experience and education to be for everyone, right? Not just their family or their children or just for them.
I have to ask, though, how difficult is this job I'm thinking about the tuition assistance, especially here. Some families need a little help, some people need a lot. How does Seattle Prep make these decisions in terms of giving out aid, and why is it important for Seattle Prep to give that aid to families in the way that you do?
So we use the SSS financial aid program.
School and Student Services, the SSS
Yes.
factor we're
Thank
talking
you.
about
Yes,
there.
yes.
Always important to break those pieces down there.
Yes. So people apply, get in their information, and then Seattle Prep will adjust it because we live in Seattle, an expensive area. And it's important because we want to be accessible. This isn't a school just for a certain demographic, right? It's a school for people who want to come, they want to work hard, they want to grow, they want to challenge themselves, they want to take risks, and we want to make that possible.
In terms of how you're counseling families through this, how do you do that part of it? Because you're dealing with them directly. Some of them are maybe having a challenge in asking for help. How do you help counsel them through this?
I just try to say it over and over again. Do not let money be a reason you wouldn't apply to prep. And for students, do not let money be a reason you wouldn't participate in an activity that you want to participate in. We're going to make that happen for you. And so we have people who work in the office to help. We do like a financial aid night to help people learn how to fill out the forms, available by phone, email. Some people need to come in person. We've sat with people who maybe didn't have a computer at home and like gotten them through the process. So we're just trying to be very available.
I wanted to get to that root of why that's important, and why does Seattle Prep do this? You're really trying to reach people from all different socioeconomic levels, all different parts of our society here. Why is it important to Seattle Prep to do that?
Yeah, it's a part of our mission and who we are. When St. Ignatius, who founded the Jesuits, and the Jesuits started schools, they started schools as a way to make a difference. And they've started schools all over the world to do that. And so here at Seattle Prep, we want to make sure we're doing that. And our mission comes from St. Ignatius, that God can be found in all things. Each person is sacred, and we were created to serve one another in community. And so we have to do that in all ways, right? We do it through how we treat each other, but we definitely do it by being financially accessible.
And just making sure that you have a really diverse student body.
Yes.
That sounds like an important part of it,
Yeah,
too.
it's really important to us. We like to have students from different schools, different backgrounds, different economic backgrounds. Yeah, it's important.
That's part of the education here, too, I guess,
yeah.
running into those different
Sure,
people.
we're learning from each other.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I see that.
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about what it looks like when you get that student that comes through, because we're going to be talking to Brooke Worku. I'm really looking forward to talking with her. Tell me a little bit about her, because she really seems like a great example of how this boost of financial help can really change somebody's life.
Oh, I'm so excited about her. She's so talented. She's done so many great things during her time here.
And what a great
Yeah.
admissions director that brought her in. I mean, nice work.
Well, she was a strong applicant.
Yes,
So,
let's call it
yeah,
that.
Yeah,
Okay.
she's good merit. I think everyone would want to have her, which is probably why Notre Dame chose to accept her.
Huge.
Yeah, she's on the mock trial team who just won state. This is the 18th in a row, and they're preparing to go off to nationals now. She's been on Pulse, the dance team. She does service. Brooke's such a great person that she's still continuing to do service beyond her requirement.
You were able to really help out in this situation, it sounds
Oh,
like.
yeah. And all the ways that she can have a really good experience here.
So not just tuition, but
Not
these
just
different...
tuition, those
the-
different things we mentioned before. So helping students with lunch, with transportation, with activities, with fees. Our activities have maybe extra costs, like the mock trial team is going to have to travel to go to nationals. And students who need help with that, we'll help them with that. We've helped kids with bikes, with some of them do crew. We help them with crew. I mean, all the activities, fully being able to engage at prep.
What does that mean to you when you see a student that you've been able to help, a family, really,
Yes.
that you've been able to
Yes.
help? Because as I understand it, she's the first girl in her family to go to college. What does it mean to you to see that gift that Seattle Prep, Catholic education, and the work you're doing there with help
Yeah.
from the Fulcrum Foundation is able to, I don't know, turn something into a real flower here?
It's huge. I mean, I can get a little emotional or think about my own life, my sister's life. And what I love about prep, allowing students to fully engage, it's not the end of the world. It's not a big deal. But when I think about going through high school and, we never bought the team sweatshirt because it cost more money to buy that, or wearing the same sports equipment all through because we didn't have the money to buy the new equipment every year, not going on certain activities because they would cost money. I'm sure we could have asked for help. We just didn't know. but I love that students at prep don't have to do that. Or it's so accessible. They know where to go and can feel comfortable enough to ask to be able to do. And because someone like Brooke has challenged herself and not let money be a reason she doesn't try new things and take risks. Look at this. She's now going to Notre Dame. I mean, such a fabulous school, so hard to get into that school. And she's just going to continue her path to grow and be exceptional. And I know she's going to do great things at Notre Dame too. She's going to change the world.
I can tell it's an emotional time for you. That means a lot to you, it sounds like, that she's able to do that.
Yeah, she's taken care of, and she's going to be taken care of. And I'm sure that's so great for her family too. It's a gift to her family.
I think so too. I can't wait to meet her. Ann Alocalaro, Admissions Director here at Seattle Prep. Thank you very much for being with me.
Yes, thanks for having me.
All right, up next, we're going to hear from Brooke as our discussion about supporting students continues. You're listening to The Fulcrum Point.
Hello, my name is Nico, and I'm a senior here at Seattle Prep High School in Seattle, Washington. The number one thing I'm most thankful and grateful for when it comes to a Catholic education is just a sense of belonging and community that any one student can find upon stepping on campus. Even, if that student may not be a part of the Catholic or Christian faith tradition, they still find a sense of purpose and a sense of community, and they're just able to fit in, have a great experience, and use that in the rest of their lives.
Thanks for all the great input from students here at Seattle Prep as we are recording the Fulcrum Point podcast right here on campus. And joining me now is Brooke Worku. She is a senior at Seattle Prep. And Brooke, I'm really glad to meet you.
I'm really glad to meet you too.
I want to talk about your early history, even before you were in Catholic schools. Tell me about your family. Your family immigrated here.
Yes, so my family immigrated here from Ethiopia when I was 4 years old. And when we immigrated here, it was a big transformation as we had to learn English, learn how to integrate in this community, in a new environment.
And then moving on from there, you went to elementary school. And tell me about the schooling part of it.
Yes, so at first I started out in a public school, but then my dad wanted me to branch out and have a higher education.
That sounds like something a dad would say.
Yes,
okay,
so,
I've said that before too.
Yes. So he started researching about Catholic schools as they're known for having a high academic, rigorous environment. And so he found out about Seattle Nativity School, which is a Catholic school, but it's for low-income students so they can have the same opportunities as a Catholic school provides, but with the financial security so families don't have the financial burden. And that really transformed my life as I received a lot of new opportunities. I got to branch out. It had high academics. I learned a lot. And that kind of created the pathway for me to also come to Seattle Prep.
Got it. Right. And we're talking about Seattle Nativity down in South Seattle there. It's been around since 2013. I know a lot of great grads have come out of there, but essentially your tuition was paid for there and you were able to go through those middle school years there?
Yes, there was no financial anything, but I also received a full ride to Seattle Prep for 4 years too.
That's amazing. And so you continued that path. Tell me about that. When you were able to get into Seattle Prep, which is one of the top schools in our area here, what was that like for you to know that you were going to continue that path?
I was very excited and I felt very blessed and grateful to be able to attend a school like Seattle Prep. And, I'm very grateful that it was fully funded for me too, because my family didn't have that financial burden. I received the same opportunities at a school like this, and so I'm very grateful.
I know the Fulcrum Foundation has been a big help with that, and that's a big reason why we're doing episodes like this, and I appreciate your background on this. And let me know in terms of the different things you've been able to do here at Seattle Prep, and don't get shy on me here, Brooke, because you've done a lot. I wanted to talk especially about mock trial. I think I'm talking to a state champion here. What's going on with that?
Yes, so mock trial was something, I didn't know I wanted to do it when I first started out freshman year.
You don't seem that argumentative to me, but keep going. Okay.
Yes, of course. So when I started out mock trial, everyone was just so welcoming. That's one of the great things about Seattle Prep. It's a very welcoming environment. And when I started out, I saw the leaders, the captains of mock trial. They really made me feel welcomed. And, in trial, when we did it, I felt like a lawyer. And so I found out that law school is a path for me. So yeah.
Oh, that's going to be the long-term goal here.
Yes,
then.
yes.
Wow.
I want to go to law school, yes.
Well, before that, you got to go to college, and there's some great news that you just got about your collegiate experience that's going to be coming up. Can you share that with me, please?
Yes, so I did a program called QuestBridge. So it matches you to a top school, and it's for high achieving low income students. It's a full ride, fully funded for 4 years. And I am a QuestBridge scholar at the University of Notre Dame.
Wow, congratulations.
Yes, thank you so much.
Go Fightin' Irish. That's going to be quite a time for you. What was that like to receive that honor? I mean, we're talking about some big advantages in education you've been able to get over the past 4 years, and now I guess the next 4 years too.
Yes, it was crazy. When I first opened the letter, it was such an overwhelming feeling, just to feel that security for, 4 years. It's such a huge thing that my family and I can appreciate.
I believe you told me you're the first person in your family to go to college.
Yes.
I know that means a lot to you. What does that mean to your family?
My family, they never had the college experience. I'd never imagined that I would be able to go to a college like the University of Notre Dame, but, receiving the Catholic education at Seattle Prep made me realize that I can reach those places. And so, I'm very grateful for that. The University of Notre Dame is such a great school, and I'm very appreciative that I can be able to experience that. And, I'm very grateful to my parents also because, they gave up a lot for me. And I also have 5 younger siblings, so I can be a great example for them. And my parents, they were the stepping stones for me to be able to achieve such high things like that.
They must be very proud of you. I have to think
Yes,
so.
yeah.
I'm proud of you too, Brooke.
Thank
This
you.
is really good stuff. I just wanted to talk about that because we've been talking about this during the podcast. Families that are getting financial aid, et cetera, to get through in schools. My family needed financial aid, too, to get my kids through Catholic high school. This is something where families are making some really big sacrifices here to make this happen. Yes, they're getting some financial help to get through, but still, this is a sacrifice for them, too. Can you explain that part of it for me, just what this was like for your family to dive into this Catholic school experience? Can you give me that perspective?
Yes, of course. So at Seattle Prep, there's not really a lot of transportation, for example. And so my family had to be able to transport all of us to school versus like a public school, which has public transport. And so that was, of course, a sacrifice, but it all pays out when you weigh the options of receiving a Catholic education versus receiving a public school education.
Yeah, and I guess I wanted to try to get to that point about what that education has meant to you.
Yes.
It sounds like, I don't want to overstay, but it sounds like it's changed your life, Brooke.
Yes, it has. So, receiving the Catholic education, we learn a lot of values. We learn how to grow intellectually and spiritually, but also we learn how to use those values to make a difference in the world for others. And it helps us create a path that we ourselves create. And, a lot of teachers have told me at Seattle Prep, they teach us not what to think, but how to think. So that's really stuck with me.
I imagine so, and there's a lot of service I know that goes on here
Yes,
at
of
Seattle
course.
Prep, and that it sounds
Yes.
like that has continued for you. Could you talk about that?
Yes. So for service, there's a lot of service opportunities. For example, for my junior service project, I tutored at the youth tutoring program, which they offer tutors for low-income students. And so me and a couple other people will be able to go to those locations, tutor those people, and give them a perspective and show them that higher education doesn't have any bounds. They can achieve whatever they want and just not be afraid to reach those.
And you've stuck with that. It sounds like past your junior year, you're still doing that work
Yes,
to tutor
I am.
kids.
I am still at the youth tutoring program, tutoring those kids. Yes.
That's great. That is
Yes.
great stuff. Well, Brooke, I got to say, in a few years, you're probably going to be running a Fortune 500 company. I'm convinced of that. I guess I should just ask you this now. In reflecting on the people who helped make Catholic education affordable to your family, how do you want to give back? What do you want to do for Catholic education in the future?
I just want to spread awareness about the Catholic education to low-income students and just people that didn't really think it was a possibility for them. And I want to show them that having a Catholic education can really open your eyes, give you a different perspective on life, and teach you that you can do whatever you want and there's no bounds or barriers to anything.
Beautiful. That's Brooke Worku, a superstar senior from Seattle Prep. Really great to be with you, Brooke. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And it's been great to have everybody joining in for this episode of the Fulcrum Point. This is the podcast that's all about the impact of Catholic schools across Western Washington. We're very glad you're listening. Thanks for downloading. Please share this with a friend. We're on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. This show is brought to you by the Fulcrum Foundation. You can learn more about their work at fulcrumfoundation.org. I'm Brian Callanan, and it's been my pleasure to listen with you and learn. See you next time.